Hey guys, it finally stopped. Well, I was going to say it stopped raining, but it started again as soon as I was going to say that. So it stopped raining enough for me to come outside and do a little video about gardening. So gardening is a great way to get outside, get some sunlight, pass the time, and make your property really beautiful during the summer. So what I'd like to talk to you about today is two different kinds of flowers, perennials and annuals. So there's a big difference between the two. Okay guys, here in my little flower bed next to the house, I have a couple of perennials. So this one right here is a peony. It's gonna have really bright pink flowers. So they're about to bloom right here, as you can see. So this peony is a perennial, which means that you don't have to replant it every year. It just magically grows every summer by itself. The seeds just apparently stay in the earth and then they grow every year. I usually water it, weed around it, but other than that, it doesn't really take much upkeep. And it's really a good financial choice if you don't want to spend $1 million on flowers every single year, because it just keeps growing. You just have to buy it once and plant it, and then it grows every year. Awesome. That's a perennial. Here's another example right here. This giant bush is a potentilla. It has little yellow flowers, but some of them have little white flowers. So yeah, it just kind of stays around, looks dead all winter, but there, gets all green and lush in the summer. So those are perennials. You don't have to plant them every year. They just grow every year. Another example of a perennial is this little bleeding heart. It's called a bleeding heart because these look like little hearts. So you might think, wow, Madame LaFrosse, that bleeding heart looks really small and barely alive. Other people might have giant bleeding hearts that are like the size of a small bush. Well, that's great for you guys. We transplanted this one out of a really shady area. It wasn't doing very well and it was almost dead. So we moved it over here and now it's actually starting to grow. So maybe it will become a big one at some point. So it's also a perennial because it just grows every year by itself. The second type of flower I want to talk about is called an annual. So an annual is called that because you have to plant it and buy it every single year. So here in my little hanging basket, ooh, looking pretty lush. These are flourishing. So these are annuals. They don't just grow by themselves every year. You have to go and buy them every year. So it's a bit more expensive, but I really like annuals because they give a little bit of variety to go along with the perennials that I have here growing every single year. So every year I fill up my little hanging baskets with lots of annuals. Here's another example of an annual, a little pansy. A student gave me this plant pot last year. It had a different plant in it at that point though. But it was an annual, so it died, and then I had to plant a new one this year. Here's another example of annuals. Marigolds. Very cheery. So the difference between perennials and annuals is that annuals, you have to buy and plant them every single year, or you could buy seeds and plant them yourself. But my point is they don't grow by themselves every single year. Perennials, you plant them once and they just keep growing. So that's the difference between perennials and annuals.